joining us now with some perspective on Justice Scalia's legacy and the impact of his death on the court. Judge Ken Starr, president and chancellor of Baylor University in Waco, Texas, and member of the faculty of Baylor Law School. Judge Starr has argued 36 cases before the U.S. Supreme Court, including before Justice Scalia as U.S. Solicitor General. He also served as a U.S. Circuit Judge for the District of Columbia, highly esteemed. And he is the author of First Among Equals, the Supreme Court in American Life. Judge, great to see you. Thank you so much for being here tonight.
Oh, thank you, Megan.
I don't want to dwell on the hate that we just had recounted there. I'd rather go to the love and somebody who gets it, who is Associate Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg, who could not have been more opposed to Justice Scalia ideologically, right? I mean, they were at total opposite sides of the spectrum, but she came out and wrote the following, just as one example. He was a jurist of captivating brilliance and wit, with a rare talent to make even the most sober judge laugh. It was my great good fortune to have known him as a working colleague and treasured friend. Your thoughts?
This is a great tradition on the judiciary that you can disagree pretty vehemently, and yet you can like one another. You can even love one another as friends. And that's the way it was with Ruth Ginsburg and Nino Scalia, and those of us who admire the court celebrated that. So it's so unfortunate, it's tragic to see the ugliness and the death of civility yet again. But the court is very strong, and it will survive this, but we're going to be in for some very rough sledding. But in terms of Justice Scalia's legacy, so much has wisely been said that he was a great friend of the constitutional structure. He believed in we the people. He felt that we the people should govern through the elective process. And so he's very respectful of legislation. At the same time, he was very protective of individual rights, and I think this is being lost in the conversation. He was one of the most vigorous proponents of freedom of speech. He was a great advocate in favor of our freedom as free people to not be subjected to unreasonable searches and seizures and the right of confrontation in the Sixth Amendment. He was a very zealous protector of fundamental
That's the thing,
constitutional rights.
Is when our report that you just heard from our reporters talked about how he was against abortion or against gay marriage. That's not quite right. He was against judges legislating from the bench on those issues.
Exactly right. He wanted there to be a great national debate and frankly, a debate within the states, that marriage, for example, traditionally entrusted to the states. So whatever his individual views were, he tried to set those aside and really to follow what he viewed as the overriding message of our Constitution, which is let we the people decide.
He didn't like judges wearing robes sitting from the bench trying to understand how people in middle America see these issues, and he wanted those issues returned to them. So let me ask you, as somebody who's obviously knows much more about the Supreme Court than any of us, what is likely to happen now? How do you see this battle shaping up? First of all, do you think the Republicans are in the right to refuse to consider a nominee? And second of all, what do you think is likely to happen with all the cases pending before this high court over the next 11 or so months?
Well, it would be great if everyone could get together and say, here's a consensus nominee. If maybe a generation ago that could happen. But since the nomination of Robert Bork, it's been very, very ugly. And so it's rare for someone like
Which is something the Democrats
Scalia
did to the Republican nominee of President Reagan.
Well, that's exactly right. And so it's very unfortunate. So failing that, then it's a matter of power. And what we're seeing is the president's exercising his power, and now we see the Senate exercising their authority, their power, to say we're simply not going to do this. Now, I will add this. I think it will be unfortunate for the court for a nomination and a confirmation hearing to be caught up in presidential politics. That's one person's view. I think the court as an institution will be better, even though it's a little rough sledding when you've got 8 members of the court and not all 9. Yes, there'll be some divided judgments, 4-4 affirmances. That's really unfortunate. But when you consider the alternative in light of the polarization of America and what we're seeing in the presidential campaigns is really very ugly.
Judge Starr, it's great to see you. Thank you for coming here tonight.
Good to see you, Megan. Thank you.
Also tonight,